Ace-8 I think is a bit too weak to 3-bet here. So we'll just take the better price and call. Important to not overfold if you have hands here like Queen-8 offsuit, Queen-7 offsuit. Against a 2.2 they probably all have to continue. Facing a small bet on a monotone flop where I shouldn't bet too much. This is actually close. I think we can still about float, given that you probably play a bit too passive on future runouts and might be betting a bit too much on the flop. And the question is now, do we want to bet the turn and bluff the river? Given the quick check, I think I quite like that play. And although this is not the greatest runout, because he's going to have a lot of 7x himself. But I think we can still make it work. We'll have some 7-6 ourselves, some 9-8 ourselves. And expect him to overfold there after the quick check on the turn and the quick check call. So we'll just stick with our strategy pretty much.
Hello everyone, ValueHeavy Peter and his cat here with a quick announcement. At the end of October, we'll be doing 5 group coaching sessions with Rufi about single race spots. It's again gonna be only 99 euros, so really good bargain. If you're interested, make sure to join our Discord, link down below. Send a message to me or Rufi if you want more information, if you want to reserve a spot. Everything you can do on the Discord, again, link down below. Back to the video, have fun.
On the right hand side we 3-bet the ace-king. We get a cold call from the player behind, who seems to be on the loose, very loose passive side. So I think I like starting off with a small bet, kind of deciding the size of the pot, getting some value from ace, queen, ace, jack that I don't think will float. And then we have some potential runouts where he could bluff, or obviously stack his value hands if he hit an ace or king. I think the flush 9 complaint is probably one of the worst. He's definitely going to have 5, 7s, 9s probably a lot, and then over pairs with a pocket pair. I don't think this is a spot where we get enough fold equity. And also we could already be drawing dead. So I think the check fold here is actually the best option. If we would have checked back, then again this would have been a nice spot to you know, over bluff. But I think here we just have to accept that his range is going to be too strong and we're not going to put enough pressure. Although it is a small sizing, he's in position with a small SPR, so there's no need for him to size up. And yeah, we could just be drawing completely dead against a flush or a full house there. And even if he has like some backdoor, but the only hand that can really bluff us there are like some backdoor overcards that he floated on the flop. King Jack against a limp from the same guy, and then a small ice. I think we can squeeze there again, a bit looser, but should be fine. And a King 6 here, multi-way out of position. Although the board is decent for me, we just have very little going for a hand. So I think starting with a check and kind of gaining some information. Snap check from the cutoff. That's a really good sign. Hoping for a quick check from the button because we can't really do anything, and they're against a big bet. Even though we know that the cutoff basically is always folding, as we can see. We just need to get out. It's gonna check behind the very weakest range and just be happy to realize some equity. On the turn 10, I think check call is probably still the best play, although I don't hate like a 1 big blind bet, getting some value from ace high slash folding out some higher cards. But yeah, just calling with our pair plus flush draw seems like a good option too. And then given his passivity, probably just folding on the river unimproved. And now the question is just, do we want to donk to get some value from a hand like an ace? Kind of go for a small block bet fold. I think I prefer that over checking. We can get definitely caught by worse hands, like sets, 2 pairs and straights. And yeah, in this case even an 10. Which is a hand I would always check back, so I think important to kind of realize that it's very unlikely he will bluff enough, but could definitely be possible that he's just calling. Hands that are still worse than our hand. And if we get raised from an opponent like this one, the correct play is then definitely just to fold. king 9-3 against a button flat. Probably a board where we could have some bets, but again, I think at these stakes, just the checking gives you so much information. Once we see this very, very quick check back, it's super unlikely he has a strong king. 9s or 3s basically never. Sure, sometimes pocket deuces, but allows us to play our hand really, really well, which probably falls somewhere in between the small to medium-ish bet sizing. And then on the river, we can decide if we want to block bet again, if we want to go for a check call. So he's going to have some backdoor clubs for sure. He's going to have some... this is not the greatest spot. Can we see get value from pocket 6s, pocket 5s? It seems quite ambitious. I think we just have to go with a check. Just some bluffs that he could potentially have, but not too many. Yeah, maybe we can go like a 1 or 2 big mans if you want to be really face up. Because check calling is not a great alternative either here. But yeah, again, the flop snap check, right, gave us a lot of information at where we're at in the hand, so I think definitely better than going for a bet yourself. Queen 10-4. Interesting, you can use a lot of different strategies here on the flop. Overbet, small bet. I like overbets here with this type of hands. It's definitely something in theory that you should be doing. And you put a lot of pressure right away, and you summon some runners. You can even check down and win against his king jack, ace jack, or missed spades. And obviously after we overbet and face a raise, we're just out there. We'll have all the 10s, queens, 4s, over pairs, strong queen x, flush draws, etc. to continue. And yeah, important to not level ourselves there. Here we are 150 big blinds deep, so like calling a bit more. Otherwise I would mainly recommend folding these pocket pairs at lower stakes when the rake is so high and people probably not 3-betting enough. I think deeper they become a bit better. And 9s against the small sizing. I think we just call. I think we're still a bit too deep and the positions are a bit too tight to jam here. And 2 pretty good boards for the preflop aggressor. Very, very interesting to see a check behind on a board that's so good. So it's kings, queens come to mind. Maybe the super nuts, aces. Makes a lot of sense. And we see checks on both boards. That should be the clearest range bets. And I think the best strategy on both boards is just to check and realize equity. We see another very quick check on the left hand side. Now I kind of like the small sizing, kind of losing the minimum against aces, kings, while getting some value from king, queen, king, jack, high hands. And here against a small delay bet. I think we probably still fold them. If he had some rate that he's now gonna fold his aces, kings, but I think it's quite a risky and expensive bluff, and I'd rather do that if I had a bit more outs in terms of a flush draw. And here the 9s, obviously the plan was to just check behind, and we kind of lose the minimum against kings. We could also just check this down, but I think this play also is quite nice to kind of protect your hand and put some pressure on his king, queen, king, jack, queen, jack high hands. And then the 4-3 against the main open, I'm not really gonna fold close to anything, especially hands that are connected like this one. 10s here again, we're a bit deep. Sorry, pocket 3s against a 10 big blind 3-bet would be close otherwise, but given that we're deep, I think we want to call. And the 4-3, both calling and raising is fine. I'll start with a call. You see a check on this board with pocket 3s. I don't mind going for a small step and putting on a lot of pressure. Pocket 3s, we're not really bet folding anything if he check raises us, so we're fine. And the 4-3, I think, again, I like this small bet to just check back. And now, not great. We were hoping to kind of get a lot of folds slash fold out his high cards. And yeah, if he plays passively with trips, that's fine for us. Going for another small bet here, kind of saying F10s, 9s here, putting a lot of pressure on his one pair hand and his overcards, and kind of capping him to go for a big bluff on the river. Again, we need to find some bluffs, and I think these low hands unblocking all of his folding range are great. And with the 4-3, what we basically did was just kind of putting in as much money as our hand wants to. And sure, in this case we did lose against Ace-9, but you know, he kind of lost value by, if we would have bet bigger, we would have definitely called. So I think that's great. 8-7-4, we see a small bet. I think here we can probably start with a raise right away. It's a board where hits us really well. He shouldn't have many bets. This could either mean when he's betting he's really strong, but more likely it's just that he's betting too much on his flop and we want to attack that. And a hand like Ace-5, really great, folds a lot of the dominated Ace-X hands in his range. Ace-Jack-Jack on the right hand side. Great board for us just to go ahead and range bet. Quite some interesting spots. I think I'll sit out the next big blind. And the Ace-4 here will go for a 3-bet. On the Jack turn, this is one that should definitely hit the big blind more. We'll have lots more trash in our range compared to him. And I actually don't think we want to bluff our queen highs here. Probably bluff everything that's worse than that. Sure, we'll lose against king high a decent amount of the time, but he probably also misses a lot of value bets like this one, and it's one of these boards where I don't think bluffing will achieve too much, as he should be leading a lot on the turn Jack anyway, where basically his range improves but our range doesn't really improve. And 10-4, 3 with a flush draw, we decide to go for a c-bet. We'll c-bet a decent amount here, although not range. Our hand could definitely also sometimes check back. And facing the raise is not great with this hand. I believe we still have to call with the gut shot and the overcard. There's some runners where we can also potentially bluff. Doesn't mean he has 5s or 3s. Always he can have some flush draws that will check on some turns, although here obviously we need to get out. If you had some read that this guy is super passive, which, you know, maybe with a 3% 3-bet we could have already gotten away from the flop, but I think calling is still the correct play, just because there will be runouts, maybe on a king or on a queen, where we can bluff him off a 10. And sometimes on a 10, I think he's also going to slow down with a flush draw. We get to realize some equity slash bluff him off his maybe better flush draw by the river. Right, guys, as I said, quick video playing rush&cash. I hope I could demonstrate some of the concepts that I talked at the beginning of the video. Let me know what you think about the hands if you played something differently, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.